Hello, fight fans, and welcome to your review show for Cage Warriors Academy 39. I'm Mark Heath. I'm the guy who gets very excited behind the microphone calling all these great fights we have on the card. And I'm joined, as usual, by Jack Mason, legend, promoter, coach, fighter, man who does everything, and also Katie Hunter from MMA UK. We're here, obviously, to review the most recent show at the Chart Hall in Colchester. And Jack, I always start the show by asking you, with the benefit of hindsight now, a week or so since the show was, very, very stressful time clearly for you, being all things to all people on the night. How was it for you? How do you reflect on this one?
It just every show we do now is just getting less and less stressful. The team are just just incredible and just sort of gelling together, and they know exactly what they're doing. They just put on an amazing show. They look after we get so much uh, like messages from all the fighters and coaches that thanking the team for how they treat them backstage, and the opportunity that they be given and stuff, and it's just great to hear, because the team are just incredible, and I definitely don't have to do anywhere near as much as I used to, just because all the guys backstage are just brilliant, and yeah was amazing. And it's such a cliche, but we always say, like, the show just that was the best show we've ever done, and I feel like it was again. It just every time we do it, just make those little improvements, and it just get better and better. So really looking forward to the next one, really, and seeing how far we can take it.
Absolutely. November 22nd, the next show. 25 fights on this one, though. Some really, really good fights, some incredible finishes. Katie, you didn't make the April show, but you were back for this one. How was it for you? I know there's a few fights you haven't seen because you're backstage doing the post-fight interviews and that kind of thing, but good to be back. You enjoy what you saw?
I loved what I saw, and one of the most impressive things to me, apart from the fights themselves, were some of the regulars were missing from the show this time, either graduated or for other reasons weren't fighting on this card. And the depth of talent that was still on show, like, it just shows you how many incredible fighters are out there. And another thing that I love to hear when I talk to them all after their fights as well is they all say they want to fight the best people. These are people that, are accepting any and want to test themselves against the toughest guys out there. And this is the show where it happens. So, yeah, once again, absolutely blown away with everything I saw on the night.
Okay, let's get into it then. So let's start with the main event. It's the obvious place to start. Josh and Wardy fighting Danny Blundell for the professional lightweight title. Josh and Danny, both kind of veterans of the main Cage Warriors show, lots of experience going into this one. Josh got the win by a second round, one arm, one hand Kimura, which is clearly quite an unusual way of finishing a fight. I saw you afterwards, Katie, and you hadn't seen the fight because you were interviewing. And I said it was a one arm Kimura, and you're like, I don't even know what that would look like. Um, so I'll flash up a picture. This is how the fight finished. These pictures are all from Brett King. So Josh, having won the first round, he gets the stoppage in the second round. And obviously, Jack, you're part of Josh's team. How impressed were you? And as someone who clearly is well schooled in the art of grappling and jiu-jitsu, how rare is that sort of finish, and how hard is it to find?
Well, Josh is like a freak of nature. He's got these gigantic hands, and like when he grabs hold of you, it's very difficult to get off, because he's just like, his whole hand just goes all the way around your arm type thing.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to. Once you always say, like, in the gym, like to the guys he's like sparring or whatever, or grappling, you're like, do not let him put his hands on you, or lock his hands together, because it's going to be extremely difficult to break his grip. So. Point proved, really. He was able to. I think he was looking to attack with both arms, and I think just the way he found it, he sort of ended up with just the one hand, and it was he had the body position locked in anyway, so there wasn't really any sort of movement for Danny to sort of escape, and it was pretty nasty once you get there. So. I think he had to tap or sort of lose his shoulder for a little bit.
Yeah. It's not. I believe I'm right in saying I had a quick conversation with Josh afterwards, and it's not the first time he's got that finish. I think he's got it in a jiu-jitsu competition as well. So clearly something that he specialises in. Katie, that moved Josh to 7-6, a good win. How impressed were you? I know you didn't see the whole fight, but with Josh as a fighter as a whole, because he's getting more and more well-rounded. I know in some of the interviews I saw after the fight, he said that he felt more comfortable on the feet in this fight as well.
Yeah. He said to me that he discovered he could box, which
Yeah.
he's been fighting a while to find that out. But to me, that said that he's finally got confidence in his hand. You know, we know that he's got it, and he does a lot in the gym that sometimes doesn't translate into these fights, or sometimes he seems a little hesitant. He seemed like he had full belief in himself for this fight, and it was lovely to see. And I just hope that that's unlocked something in his mind, and we'll see this in all his fights going forwards, because there's absolutely no denying what a phenomenal talent he is. Just some fights haven't worked out for him for whatever reason, and some of that is about Josh rather than about who he's facing. So to me, it felt like he kind of beat a few demons in this fight as well as Danny.
And Jack, obviously you're part of the corner team. I've got a picture of you there with obviously Sean and Craig as well in Josh's corner. What do you think will be next for Josh, and how do you see his career progressing from here?
Well, so personally, I'd like to see him continue to build on this. So as Casey said, like building his confidence. You know, what we've been sort of working. You know, he's physically gifted. And phenomenal grappler, and he's very fast, very heavy hands, but he just needs to just believe in that and let things go. And in this fight, some of the stuff we were working in training, he throwing multiple combos, like long combinations rather than just single shots. He did it in this fight, and he was having really good success. So the things that we've been asking him to do, he's been doing. But as Katie said, a lot of what Josh's performance are based on how Josh is feeling mentally, and he is working on that, and it's a huge part of the game. You'll hear stories from all around the world, all different gyms, but there'll be guys that are rubbish in the training room, but just have it on the night and just can put it together. And there's other guys that are absolute monsters in the training room and just fall apart when they get to get under the lights. So it's just about managing that, and I'd like to see Josh building his confidence with that that great win. Danny Blundell's excellent fighter as well, veteran of the the big show as well, and it was good to see Josh go against a striker and sort of let things hang out. I'd love to see him continue to do that over the next few fights.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Josh's head movement as well, and avoidance of the shots from Danny in this fight. Okay, so that's the main event, the only professional fight on the card. The rest of them were amateurs, and this card, well, the whole event is built around bringing the best talent from the UK and across Europe together, putting them in fights that are genuine 50-50 fights. And the co-main event, I thought, was an excellent example of that, as are many of the others we'll discuss. Very interesting matchup going into it. Doing the kind of research for the comms, I thought this could be an absolute barn burner. You've got Mitchell Thorpe, hometown guy, BKK fighters, clearly an unbelievable striker, very, very high level striker, karate combat and all that. He was fighting Reece Teasdale for the interim lightweight amateur title. Reece coming in 6-4. Mitchell was 3-1 going in, and doing the research. Clearly, Mitchell a very good striker, and the bits I've seen of Reece was again that he was a kind of probably more powerful striker. But I thought in this fight, Reece came in with the perfect game plan. And we know that most people are going to try and take Mitchell down because not many people are going to want to stand with him. But I thought Reece did exactly what he had to. And never really gave Mitchell the chance to get going, Jack. And obviously, you're in Mitchell's corner. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. Really, I think Mitchell was expecting, or that we're expecting that game plan from Reece, because that is the way to beat Mitchell. But I think Mitchell talking about the mental side of things. I think Mitchell let the occasion get to him. Was trying to, I think to his detriment, was trying to take Reese out with single shots and then getting sort of grappled, and you can't do that against a guy that wants to immediately take you down. You can't just expect to land a big shot and finish the fight. You know, you have to fight much smarter, and I think that it just showed the big gap in experience really with Mitchell and Reese. Reese is, you know, all of his team were talking about this is his final fight before he goes pro. It was a great measuring stick for Mitchell to see where he needs to develop, and I think this has really shown him. Also, Reese is a huge lightweight.
He's massive, yeah.
But you know, it's I've been speaking to Mitchell really about going to featherweight anyway. I think this is one of those fights where maybe he realizes that that he should probably be at featherweight, given the size of some of these monsters at lightweight. So massive, you know, as I say, massive measuring stick for Mitchell. He's going to make the adjustments, make the improvements, and we'll see where he goes from there. And Reese, I fully expect him to go pro next. He looked really, you know, phenomenal performance, great game plan execution, and I think he's obviously from a great team at BST, and looking to see him develop in the pro ranks.
Yeah, we've got a picture here of the BST team, clearly one of the premier teams in the country. See Jordan Vicenich there, formerly of the UFC. And I was speaking to Tariq Pell, one of our ex-champions on this show, who now is a training partner and gym mate of Reese. And he was saying just how impressed he's been with Reese and how good he can be. So clearly a great performance. For Mitchell, though, Katie, this is, again, something we've seen on other shows. The home fighters, in quotations, are generally in fights that are favourable to them. You know, it would be easier perhaps on other shows for Mitchell to go, well, I just want to fight strikers, I'll just keep knocking people out. But he consistently puts himself kind of in fights where he's going to be pushed in areas that he maybe isn't as good at yet. And this was another example of that. I mean, going back to just the fight before this, he got his first submission, so clearly he's getting more and more well-rounded, and this again is another really good learning fight for him.
This is what the amateur career should be all about. He's got to take these tests one by one, build himself up. There's no rush to go pro, and that actually is the story of this card. Most of the fighters on this card come from great gyms, great people behind them, and they're building their amateur career in a really clever way, not by dodging, not by padding, but by, you know, facing the toughest people and working out while they're amateurs where they need to improve. And this would have been a really tough night for Mitchell, and he would have had a lot of people there, and he would have been desperate to go home with that belt. But in the long run, this is so much better for him to find out now, okay, well, I'm not quite there on my wrestling yet, or my grappling yet, or I can't make the mistakes that Jack talked about. But I don't think there's a person who was sitting there watching that fight who doesn't think that he will be there. If he puts the work in, he's going to go all the way. He's a phenomenal talent.
100%. And as you said, Reese, a perfect game plan, I thought, for that fight. Right, next fight, another homegrown talent, Mason Kinsella, defending his title, his featherweight title for I think the second time against Michael Connolly. Again, now I was looking forward to this one because, again, I'd done the comms prep. And Michael, although he was 8-4 coming into this one, Reese clearly 7-0, unbeaten. Michael had basically done what he was going to try and do in this show on his last fight. He'd walked into the back guard of an opponent who was 5-0, and he choked him unconscious in front of his hometown fans. And literally, you could have heard a pin drop after he did that. So he was trying again to kind of steal the thunder of a hometown fighter. And I thought it was going to be the biggest test of Mason's career to date. I did probably think it was that. I think Mason has said himself since that it was a really tough scrap. He took some shots. But Mason comes through again, Jack, showing again how well-rounded he is. That the striking is beautiful to watch with Mason. There's a term, isn't there, flow state for striking, where you're just kind of just doing things instinctively. And when Mason's fighting at his best, that's what I see in him. It just looks so effortless. He switches stances. There's shots coming up. He's hitting you with uppercuts with either hand, stuffing the takedowns. Clearly, if you get him on the ground, he's very good anyway. What did you make of this showing from Mason?
Yeah, it's insane. I watched I actually watched the fight back yesterday, and the his head movement and the way he was sort of missing shots. He would miss it by like sort of millimeters,
Yeah.
but then land his shot, and watching it back in slow motion as well. It's just unbelievable the way he is in like the Matrix type thing.
Yeah.
Where sort of Michael was trying to land, but just missing by millimeters, and then Mason would land his sort of inside shots, his uppercuts, and yeah, it was beautiful to watch. And you know, Mason probably could have got the guy out of there much quicker if he took him down and grappled with him, but he didn't want to do that. He said he wanted to strike the entire time, and it's just because he wanted to feel that experience and showcase his skills, and that's what he did, put on a show. So he's a special talent. He's been on at me all week already about fighting Benedozzi because he wants to be number one, and Benedozzi's, I think he's like the top guy out there on Tapology, I think, at the moment, and Mason wants that fight, and we tried to make it happen for this one. Well, Ben wasn't available, but hopefully in the future, before they both go pro, they'll maybe have this final amateur fight.
And again, that's an attitude that you wouldn't necessarily see on other shows, or indeed in other sports, boxing, where no one wants to risk losing. But Kate, speak a little bit about Mason, because you see him landing a shot here, that right hand from the southpaw stance, but he just constantly switch stances and just constantly giving you different angles and hitting you with different shots that you don't even see coming. He's a beautiful striker to watch, and he is, unlike maybe as we just talked about Mitchell, who's clearly younger in his career and has very much got a specialty that he comes from. Mason's incredibly well-rounded. So how far away do you think he is from maybe taking that next step and turning professional and then being a bit of a star?
Oh, I think he could do it tomorrow, but I also don't think there's any rush. And if he can test himself against this guy that's number one, who are we to stand in the way of that? I'd love to see that on this show. But I do like the way that none of these guys are rushing, and they're all listening to Jack or whoever their team is when they think they're ready. Why not? You know, he's built himself. As you said, this was the toughest test of his career, and he came through it. Why not continue to build those building blocks until there's no one else for him to beat at amateur? He's so serious about this, and about it's almost like he's an old head on young shoulders, and his fight IQ in there is just baffling to me. I love to see it, but and talking about him deciding to do stand up the whole fight, he actually said that he was inspired by Ethan Lewis earlier in the night and was like, right, I'm not going to grapple, I'm gonna I'm gonna make this a fist fight. So
yeah,
let's go.
Well, we'll certainly come on to Ethan in due course, but Jack, I mean, Katie there talking about how seriously Mason takes it. It speaks to, again, the kind of ethos of the fighters on this show, where calling them amateurs is almost doing them a disservice, because they're amateur kind of only in the fact they don't get paid, as it were, because everything else about them, the approach to the sport, the commitment, how hard they train, all the extra things they do is pretty much professional, isn't it?
All of these guys, you know, from all of the gyms, GB Top Team, BST, BKK, you know, the Essex and May, they've all got mental coaches, they've got nutritionists, they've got, you know, strength and conditioning coaches. They probably train better and more seriously than lots of maybe the top guys in the world in the UFC now. You know, all of these youngsters are doing everything properly, and you know, you can just see how good they're becoming, but you know, because of it. So yeah, it's probably it used to be the exception that you'd have all of these guys that serious and dedicated to it, but now it's the exception if you don't. You know, these guys are just incredible. So really looking forward to seeing how the next generation, you know, and how good they are, because they're just going to be way better than, you know, the current one and any ones before.
Yeah. Is Mason and Ben something we might get in November then? Is that being talked about?
Potentially. I'm not sure. I'll speak to Brad about that. And I know that Mason would like to make it happen, but I think with Ben they might have some other plans. So we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, moving on then. Another title fight, Ben Edwards. Now, on paper, I thought this was going to be an absolute tear-up. Ben Edwards against Toby Jackson, kind of almost carbon copies of each other in terms of build, in terms of kind of fighting approach.
Same
haircut, exactly, yeah. But, I mean, Ben came out and it's like he had somewhere to be, because he ended it in the first round, and one of the more violent rear naked chokes you'll ever see. There's a kind of picture of, I'm trying to bring it up here, of him locking it in. And it kind of got the position and sunk in this choke, and then you could actually see the panic on Toby's face as he locked it up and how tight it was, and he's tapping almost immediately. Ben is now 9-1-1, only ever lost once, won his title back and now defended it again. Ben is another one, Jack, that just keeps getting better and better, and always seems to bring something new. The fight IQ, the level of performance is tremendous.
He had a point to prove in this one, because about 8 weeks ago he fought we went out to Italy and he fought the best amateur welterweight in Italy, and it went to a decision. Ben dominated the fight, probably 30-20, 26, I think, right, on my scorecards anyway. He's a hometown fight. They scored it a draw, but the Ben was so annoyed with himself, because one of the bits of feedback I gave him after the fight was you had so many opportunities to finish with a choke there, but you just weren't being ruthless with your chokes. You were dominating position, all that type of stuff, but you've also got to get the guys out there. So he had being his body at point to prove over that. So as soon as he had an opportunity to choke, he did. And it's just to have these guys with this type of mindset going out there to prove a point from previous mistakes. That's what he's been doing all camp, and he's just been more ruthless, which is a lot of the feedback we've been giving him in training. So it's great to see it. Yeah.
Ben obviously defending his welterweight title again here. What do you make of Ben, Kay? Because he certainly falls into the very well-rounded camp, I would say. And what I love about him as well, he's got this high-level fight IQ, and he has this ability to turn the fight, depending on who he's fighting, into either a scrap or like a technical kind of battle. He's very good at that. And in this case, he just came out and just, as Jack said, clearly had a point to prove, locked the choke in nasty, and got it done early doors.
Oh, I love how coachable he is. He always talks about things that his coaches have told him before a fight or in camp or what have you, that he had to execute in there. And that's a case in point. As Jack said, he's learnt from his mistake. He's taken the feedback. I'm not vicious enough with my chokes to watch this, and he's such a gentleman outside of the cage as well. What's such a great advert for the sport. I could say that about so many people on the card, but he's just fantastic. And he got his purple belt as well.
Yeah, that was nice.
In the cage by Sean, and I said to Sean, has he been doing anything differently recently that made you, or have you been carrying this belt around for the last 5 fights? And he said, no, I just had a feeling it was going to go this way. And I consulted Charlie, one of my black belts, and said, should I give Ben his purple belt if he finishes this by submission tonight? And Charlie said, I think you should if he knocks him out. He's deserved it for ages. But sometimes, you have to prove a point before you can get it, especially of someone as stingy as Sean Carter, maybe.
Well, he certainly proved a point. With guys like Mason and Ben, Mason's now 8-0, Ben's 9-1-1, Jack. How do you make the decision as to when is the right time to turn pro? And I don't want it to all be about, when are they going to go pro and all that.
Yeah.
But what are the kind of key planks behind that decision for you as a coach?
I feel like, especially now, like you have to. It's different with every different fighter, but for the likes of Ben and Mason, it's just about having them experience kind of almost every style of fighter.
Yeah.
Before they go pro, just to see, where they could potentially have issues, or and we just try to do that. We try to match them against top level strikers, top level wrestlers, guys that really come out swinging, those types of things, just to get them to understand the different looks they're going to get. So that's where our sort of head is at, and then also depending on how much they want to go pro as well, can sort of influence that decision. But yeah, it's just really when they're ready. It's everyone's different, So, but I think that we've got a bunch of guys that are on their way to become to turning over. I think.
Yeah.
He was requesting a 5-round fight next time, Jack. Is that something you'd consider again for him?
I don't know, because strictly speaking, under the IMAF rules, you're not actually allowed to do 5-round title fights. Obviously, we can make some exceptions, but yeah, we'll see if we've got some opponents that are willing to do that as well. So it's a tough training camp to do 5 rounds. Yeah.
Okay, next fight, and for me, knockout of the night, and another one that you'd say is kind of in that next kind of tranche of people coming through that might be the future stars of this show, and then push on towards potentially being the professional stars. Darnell Jackson, who was fighting Tommy Gibbs for the I believe it's the interim bantamweight amateur title. Darnell came in 4-1, fighting out of Force MMA. Tommy Gibbs much more experienced. He was 7-6, and Darnell got a fairly spectacular head kick KO. Some very cool pictures and images around it. This is him celebrating afterwards with Tommy on the floor. He landed the shot, and then he did the kind of Dan Henderson punctuation point punch on the floor as well. And then he lobbed his mouth guard, and I think it almost hit Nick Albert, which wasn't too happy about. But Jack, obviously, again, you're involved with Darnell. He is incredibly explosive. It's not the first time we've seen him get finishes of a violent nature, but this is probably the most highlight reel one. What can you tell us about him as a fighter? Because he's now 5-1.
Yeah, he's obviously trains out of a great team like Force MMA, and does some training with us at BK as well. And he's such a smooth striker. He comes from a sort of a K1 background, and but his grappling's getting really good now. But he's so smooth in his sort of transitions from southpaw to orthodox. His time is excellent, and he's just getting more and more confident in MMA. I know he's got a fight coming up in October on a different show, but he's phenomenal talent, and going to be a exciting talent when he does eventually go pro as well. I'd really like to see, he's got the interim bantamweight title. I'd really like to see him against Sam Hadley from Combat Institute, and see how their styles match up, because Sam's brilliant grappler, Darnell's brilliant striker. Be really good to see those two go at it. So I'd love to be able to get it on in November.
That would be an amazing fight. That'd be really interesting. I mean, Sam Hadley, I think we all agreed, was our fighter of last year, and we've not actually seen him this year, have we? So if we see him come back and fight Darnell, that'd be tremendous. Kate, you interviewed Darnell after the fight, and like a lot of these guys, he's got a pretty inspirational story. Do you want to fill us in a bit more about his background?
Yeah, just someone who was watching telly, drinking too much at uni, and kind of partying hard. Was watching telly one day there, and was watching Conor Khabib, and was inspired. Decided that he would like to have a go at some of that stuff. Got into K1 first, as Jack said. And he feels that he's really turned his life around. He ended up dropping out of uni, which probably didn't please his mum very much at the time. But now he's kind of really focused and got a direction. And he's really wants to get his story out there. I'm going to chat to him before the next show, if he's on it, or the next show that he's on, and get like a more in-depth version of the story, because obviously we just had a few minutes after the fight, but it was incredible, and he wants to inspire other young people to get into the sport as well. And he obviously is such a natural. I think there's things that you can learn in training, but things like timing and reading of people, like that's much harder to learn. A lot of that does come naturally or not. And he just looks so slick and like he's been doing it such a lot longer than he actually has. Yeah, just absolutely incredible, and my knockout of the night for sure.
Absolutely. If you've not seen it, go and find it on our Instagram. It's a southpaw, so it's the back left leg, and I think he'd thrown it earlier in the round, and he just got blocked. But he obviously saw the opening and lined it up, and that was all she wrote. Just moving on, just to kind of tick a few more of the boxes on the title fights. Earlier on the card, we had a couple more title fights. Aussie Jatta won the amateur flyweight title. He beat Nathan with a pillow, a late replacement on unanimous decision. And there was an interesting fight between two really highly ranked European guys, Marco Esposito and Tobias Bartak, for the European lightweight title, which went to Bartak via unanimous decision. I also want to focus on some of the other fights on the card, because I was having a bit of an argument with Nick at the end of the night about what was the best fight we'd seen. And there were quite a few contenders. I think probably maybe start with Ethan Lewis, Jack, because this fight fascinated me. We've seen Ethan Lewis a lot, and he comes in to fight Lilian Pavlichet, who we've basically only seen knocking people out in like 30 seconds. So clearly a very dangerous fight for Ethan. But me and Nick both agree this is the best we've ever seen him fight. He ended up getting his hand raised. I think it was a split decision, wasn't it, in the end? But he was superb, Jack, against a very dangerous opponent. And one of the things I really want to ask you about is, it looked like part of the game plan was to go to the body, because he was ripping the body of Pavlichet relentlessly. And his whole torso was red at the end of the fight. So where did that come from? Had you seen something in preparation for that? Or
it's just Ethan has got brilliant body shots, and he's been trying to get to use them more and more and more. And because he's one of them guys that he will just get in there and fight and just throw, and he's able to do he's able to do it. And we thought that would be a brilliant, we thought it would be a brilliant strategy to beat Pavlik, and obviously it proved, we wanted to step on him, not give him space to kick, keep ripping to the body. He's Ethan was landing some beautiful knees as well when they clinched, and he's just a madman. He wasn't going to fight this company. He had such a bad neck injury. He could barely move his neck but he was still training and trying to get to rest. But he was Lillian's opponent pulled out the week of the fight, so Ethan heard about this and then just pestered me saying he wanted the fight. I was a bit, because of Lillian's power and and how good he is. I was a bit hesitant about putting the match on, because I thought, Ethan, you're injured, but he was adamant he wanted to fight. He told me what he was going to do to him, and that's exactly what he did. He said he was going to put the pace on him. Every time we went south, we'd hit with the right hand, keep hitting to the body. I was like, sounds like a good plan, Ethan, and you got to go and do it, and he did.
Absolutely, it was as I said, definitely the best I've ever seen him fight. He moved to 7-5. This fight was at featherweight. Hans Lillian, his first defeat as well, Katie, a guy who we've seen knock people out violently in a matter of seconds. So a huge risk, taking it late with a bit of an injury, but he had the perfect game plan, didn't he?
4 days' notice against the boogeyman of Cage Warriors Academy. This guy's been stopping people in the first round, not just stopping them, KOing them first round. And Ethan goes, "That's the guy for me."
Yeah, give me him on 4 days' notice. Yeah.
But he said, "I want to fight the best guys. I want to fight the best." And Jack, I thought that he said to you, if there's any dropouts, I'll fight anyone. And you turned to him with Lillian, and he kind of backed himself into a corner. But no, he actually put his hand up to fight this guy. It's incredible. And he did look the best he's ever looked. I feel like he grows with every fight. The last fight at Cage Warriors Academy, where he was winning every second of the fight and then got caught, he said to me that really dented his confidence. I didn't think it would, because I thought he would kind of take confidence from the fact that he was winning that fight right up until he wasn't. But he said that really kind of knocked him down, and he's been building himself back up. And again, he just said, I want to fight the best. I want Jack to find me the best, and I want to fight them on this show. And well, he's fought on every show. I think he's defending his current belt next. I can't remember what show it is that he's
Out
got.
in Italy, yeah.
Yeah, just incredible. And please go and watch his interview with me. He's such a likable guy. You'll never believe that he gets in the cage and is an animal, because he's another one who's just so sweet. He can talk for England, which is great when you're interviewing people, exactly what you want. And he's just an absolute joy to be around. I'm sure he is in the gym as well, Jack. And it's just to see him put it all together and, you know, really grow like that was really, really special for me.
He's
Yeah, I
another
think it's
guy that
important to
works
say as well.
super hard. Yeah, sorry, Mike. I was just say he's another guy like does everything. You know, he trains twice a day, nutritionist, strength and conditioning. He does a lot and works incredibly hard. And he wants to stay busy. He wants to be the best he can do. He wants to make a big career out of it. So if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's definitely going to. And everyone would love to watch him fight. He always brings it. He's such an entertaining fighter, you know, win or lose, and he's just getting better and better. So I think he's got, you know, if he wants to go and, you know, be a big star in the sport, he can be.
He's got fan favourite written all over him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think it's important to say as well that although Ethan fought out of his skin, Lillian didn't fight badly. Like, I thought Lillian fought well, and he had his moments as well. He caught Ethan with some good shots. And it was just that Ethan was just kind of one of those nights you sometimes see fighters that just aren't going to be denied, and he was just on it, like constantly, relentlessly, with that pressure and the pace. I thought it was brilliant from Ethan. Right then, Jack, I'm going to need a ruling from you on another fight, because it was my fight of the night. But Nick told me I couldn't have it because it was less than a round, which I disagreed with quite a lot. But it was a crazy fight between Mitchell Kennedy and Troy Sudbury, which only lasted a round, just inside a round. Mitchell ended up winning by V-lock submission, which again is something quite rare. But both guys were rocked at times in this. It was that kind of classic rock'em sock'em robots back and forth fight in a phone booth. It was a spectacular less than 3 minutes. Can I have it as fight of the night, even though it didn't last a round?
I think it was it was an incredible fight, wasn't it? It was, I don't know how they fitted so much into a single round. You know, like there was it was unbelievable. You know, there were big throws, you know, big punches. You know, everyone was getting rocked. It was and then spectacular submission at the end of it, and incredible fight. I think it's gone. You know, I think like I'm easy either way, but I think the consensus has been that the Ethan Lewis Pavlak fight was fight of the night. That's what the consensus has been. But and then Mitchell Kennedy has won submission of the night, because that was a incredible submission and very rare as well. So but incredible fight nonetheless. Like I could definitely say that was fight of the night.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was one of those ones that I think you have to go and find. It's going to be one of the best fights you'll see anywhere this year. And it's one of those ones that, as a commentator, I just kept going, this is unbelievable. I was even like, it's an unbelievable fight. They'd kind of had a little break, and then they just get back to just punching each other straight in the face, and then one of them would wobble and they'd be off again. It'd be incredible. Kate, did you see it first of all, and what did you make of it?
I did, and I messaged Jack after the show and said, "Are you allowed to have fight less than 1 round as fight of the night?
Yeah.
If not, that was the most exciting round of the night." It was absolutely incredible, and I can't believe that Mitchell was able to give me an interview afterwards. To be honest, I thought they'd both be on their way to hospital. It was insane. I'm glad he got a performance bonus, but to be fair to Troy, he bought it as well. Like that was, if you wanted to get people excited about the sport, put on that round. It just had everything. It had literally everything. I loved it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Go and watch that if you've not seen it. Another.
And you think Mark, like, credit to Essex MMA team, because they were both 50% of both of those incredible fights that were put on, and it's just a testament to their style and the way they train, and the level of the level of fighters that they're producing. So yeah, great. Hats off to Alan and all the team there.
Absolutely. Great fight. Go and see it if you've not, because as I say, it will be one of the best 2 minutes 50 something plus fight action you'll see anywhere this year. Another fight I just want to highlight as well, just in the kind of fight of the night conversation, Freddie Gant and Selman Gurel, which is a bantamweight fight. Selman won but again, that was another back and forth cracker. And also highlight Marcin Koshel from Tsunami Gym in Norfolk under Lee Dosky. Obviously, he moved to 5-1. And he had on his way to victory over Fares Ben Ahmed. He won by second round rear naked choke, but he had one of these kind of spectacular throws where he literally he dumped him on, I think it was on the side of his head, and then went through quite a spectacular chain of I think he ended up in mount, and then he moved from mount to the armbar, and he ended up getting the I think there was a crucifix in there as well. He ended up getting the rear naked choke. So another very impressive victory for Marcin. I want to ask you, Jack, about Danny Parker, because that was a classic fight between, Danny is clearly a very, very good striker, boxing, K1 background, and he was fighting a guy, Ben Hodgson, who was 6-1, and all 6 of those wins come by submission. So it's your classic striker versus grappler. And I thought Danny had a really good first round, but then he got caught right at the end of the round by a head kick from Ben, and I think it got a delayed reaction on Danny, and ended up kind of crumpling towards the fence. He got stopped with a second left. So having dominated the round, I guess it's the nature of MMA, isn't it? He ended up losing. What did you make of that? How was he afterwards? I'd imagine he was pretty gutted.
Yeah, very gutted. I think Ben Hodgson's like one of the him and Ben Edwards in their last fight, they went sort of back and forth. And Ben is one of the elite welterweights in the UK. So I was really impressed with Danny's performance. He worked very hard to execute that game plan, and he was dominating. And I think maybe where he maybe got a bit comfortable, I think he was maybe a little bit sloppy with his guard at the end of that round. Nothing, Ben obviously was. I think he was trying to land those types of shots anyway through the head kick a few times, and he sort of went low on with the punch to the body, and then came up with a head kick, and obviously landed it, exactly where it needed to land, and then he got the finish. He's a spectacular welterweight. Very disappointed for Danny. He'll be back. He's got he really wants to go all the way, and I know he's just going to learn from that and just get better and better. But Ben, super talent. So let's see how far he can go as well.
Another finish to highlight: Billy Broster fighting over GB top team. First round stoppage of Jack Williams from Essex MMA, a guy who we've seen look very impressive with his hands, Katie. I'm coming to you, so I hope you've seen this. But yeah, I mean, Billy Broster moved to 3-0. He looks incredibly powerful at what's he, lightweight? Someone to watch, heavy hands.
Yeah, no, this wasn't one that I managed to catch, actually.
Oh, okay.
I have seen some highlights of it, and just very, very impressive.
Absolutely. Is there anyone else you want to highlight, Jack? I mean, there were 25 fights on the card, a lot of highlight reel finishes, fight of the night contenders. Anything that you think we've missed?
I don't think. Well, listen, I don't. There were so many good fights. We're probably missing all of them, to be honest. But the just the level of talent from all of the gyms that fought on the show, I just think is just getting better and better. It just it's a privilege to be able to put the platform on just to showcase these guys' skills and just watch them develop. There's going to be so many future stars that are coming through the promotion. It's just it's just a pleasure to watch.
And it's a conveyor belt, isn't it, Katie? Because they're kind of like schools have years or classes, graduating classes. It feels like that's what we get with the academy show, isn't it? You have people come through, someone like Chanel Dyer, for example, who moves on, and now you see her on the real big stages globally. And then there's always people coming behind them. You could think, actually, do you know what, they could do just as well?
Because some of the other shows, even Cage Warriors, for example, it almost goes in cycles where they lose a lot of their big stars at the same time, and it takes a while for that to kind of recover and get back up to the same level of quality. But this is not the case with this show. New stars emerge on every single show. It takes one standout performance for people to go home thinking of you and be really excited to see you on the next show. People still go home excited about you if you fight well and lose. It's just, if there's one thing I would say to anybody who went home with a result that they didn't want, is it should hurt, and it will hurt, but this doesn't mean anything other than it's there for you to grow from. And some of the people we've spoken about losing on the night of their stock hasn't gone down. They're fighting the best people, and on that particular night there was an aspect of their game that wasn't quite on point, but they're going to grow. A lot of these people, if they put the work in, they're going to the top. And I love it when we see that talent graduate and move on to the big show. And look at Tarek Pell now. You've got to think he's not far away from a UFC shot if he keeps finishing people in the way he has. Since he's gone to BST, he's just looked absolutely outstanding, and the academy shows gave him that platform. So yeah, love to see it. And just one more fight from me that I wanted to mention, Dacre Bradley. He just looked fantastic on the night, and it was really good to see him back in the win column. And he just said, I wasn't going to go home sad again. He'd obviously fought Sam Hadley and lost that title fight on the last year. And he said, I'm not going home sad again. And he's just worked on himself so much to the point where, you said it earlier, Mark, about someone, he just wasn't going to be denied. And that was a really tough fight, and he came through it well, and he's put himself right back in the mix for bantamweight, isn't it? For that division, right back at the top. So yeah, that's an example I would use for anyone who's feeling, sad about how that night went for them.
He beat Julian Korhag at bantamweight, a guy he'd fought before, back in the win column. Before. Jack, it must be a joy for you as a promoter to have athletes with this kind of mindset. I mean, Kate just referred there to people losing, but I suppose you would say that if you lose, that's only indicating you're fighting the right sort of fights. You're being tested in ways that you need to be, and that is not necessarily common amongst all fighters, that they want to be in tough fights. They want to get tested a lot. It's easy to go, I just want to knock people out. That's what I do. Let me do more of that, please. Whereas these guys all commit to having the hardest possible fights they could have.
Yeah, but this is it. It's testament to all the gyms that are involved and all the coaches. With a lot of the coaches that maybe I sort of when I was fighting, they were also fighting. You got like the guys like Brad and Ash, that coach the GB top team guys. You got Alan Packman. You got the guys at BST. You got Raymond. You got Danny. All of these coaches understand that the amateur fights are to develop your fighters, to get them to and they instill that in the fighters, and they understand, losing sucks. It does, whether it's amateur or pro, but the whole point of the amateur career is so that it's a measuring stick to understand when you're ready to then go pro. So you got to be testing yourself so that you understand where you're at and what you need to develop before you embark on a pro career, and it really does count. Every loss does impact your future career earnings, that type of stuff once you go pro. So you need to have, I feel like, rather than learning on the job at pro, you should be fully prepared and ready before you turn over. That's what I believe is the purpose of the amateur fights.
Okay. All right, let's draw a line under Academy Show 39 then. The next one is 40. Jack, that's coming up in November the 22nd. You've already teased us with potentially Sam Hadley and Darnell Jackson. Is there anything else you can entice us with that might be?
Well, I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see Christian Young back after his injury. That'd be amazing to see him back. But potentially maybe the fight that sort of fell out from the August show we'll sort of put that one on. I just think much more of Ben Edwards, Mason Kinsella, and all of the the sort of the big stars. I'm looking forward to seeing how the guys that maybe didn't have the results that they wanted in August, turning things around, putting the work in, and coming back and showcasing their improved skill set in November. So really looking forward to it. The matchmaking is going to be underway almost imminently. So really looking forward to starting announcing some of these big fights.
Can you believe it's going to be the 40th show?
It's mad, but we're going to have to do something special for it.
Yeah,
it's going to be good. It'll be good.
Excellent. Just want to shout out the sponsors, obviously very important. So shout out to IVG, Phantom Athletics, Vigor 8, Iron Imperium, and Apex Mouth Guards. Katie, November, Sam versus Darnell. That's very exciting. Going to be another spectacular show.
I can't wait. I want to know what this something special is for the 40th show.
We'll have to work. So we'll have to work something out. We've not got no plans, but we're going to work. We're going to pull some out of the bag.
I thought you were just keeping it a secret.
No.
There will be something special, though.
There will be something special. It will be something special.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, thanks for joining us, guys. Anything else you want to mention, either of you, Jack or Katie? Jack, anything else you want to say?
I just want we talked about the sponsors, but these guys are helping us take things to sort of the next level. With sort of the working with sort of Phantom Athletics. We had our new pro gloves for this event. They looked amazing. We had all of the guys are kitted out now in the Phantom Athletics shorts and gloves. It just makes the show look so much more professional, and it's really taken us to that next level. With IVG, they're really helping us to develop the show, and so that we can do things like put on an incredible 40th show. So all of these guys that are involved and be supporting us really appreciate that, and looking forward to seeing what we can do at the end of the year.
Your dog's very excited about the November show, by the sound of it.
I think my wife just got home.
Yeah. Katie, anything from you before we take our leave?
No, just congratulations to everyone who stepped in there on the night. There wasn't a bad fight on the card. It was absolutely incredible. And like I say, every time certain regulars are missing, you wonder if the card will be the same. It absolutely delivered. And like Jack said, every show is the best show there's ever been. So very, very excited for November.
Yeah, the beauty of sport, or at least being a sports fan for me, is being that guy who can say, I told you about so-and-so, I knew about them first. And that's basically what you can see on Cage Warriors Academy. You will see the stars of the future, and you'll see those next November 22nd at Chart Hall in Colchester. I've been Mark Heath. Thanks for joining us. Jack Mason, Katie Hunter, and we'll be back after the next show to break it all down all over again.